Apollo 11 was launched by a Saturn V rocket from Kennedy Space Center on Merritt Island, Florida, on July 16 at 13:32 UTC, and it was the fifth crewed mission of NASA's Apollo program. The Apollo spacecraft had three parts: a command module with a cabin for the three astronauts, the only part that returned to Earth, a service module, which supported the command module with propulsion, electrical power, oxygen, and water, and a lunar module that had two stages: a descent stage for landing on the Moon and an ascent stage to place the astronauts back into lunar orbit. After being sent to the Moon by the Saturn V's third stage, the astronauts separated the spacecraft from it and traveled for 3 days until they entered lunar orbit. Armstrong and Aldrin then moved into Eagle and landed in the Sea of Tranquility on July 20.
At 12:52 UTC on July 20, Aldrin and Armstrong entered Eagle, and began the final preparations for lunar descent. At 17:44 Eagle separated from Columbia. Collins, alone aboard Columbia, inspected Eagle as it pirouetted before him to ensure the craft was not damaged, and that the landing gear was correctly deployed. Armstrong exclaimed, "The Eagle has wings." Five minutes into the descent burn, and 6,000 feet, 1,800 meters, above the surface of the Moon, the LM guidance computer, LGC, distracted the crew with the first of several unexpected 1201 and 1202 program alarms. When Armstrong looked outside, he saw that the computer's landing target was in a boulder-strewn area just north and east of a 300-foot diameter crater, so he took semi-automatic control. Armstrong found a clear patch of ground and maneuvered the spacecraft towards it. Eagle landed at 20:17 and 40 seconds UTC on Sunday, July 20 with 216 pounds of usable fuel remaining. Six hours and 39 minutes after landing, Armstrong and Aldrin were ready to go outside, and Eagle was depressurized. At 2:51 Armstrong began his descent to the lunar surface. The remote control unit on his chest kept him from seeing his feet. Climbing down the 9-rung ladder, Armstrong pulled a D-ring to deploy the modular equipment stowage assembly folded against Eagle's side and activate the TV camera. After describing the surface dust as very fine-grained and almost like a powder, at 2:56 and 15 seconds, 6.5 hours after landing, Armstrong stepped off Eagle's footpad and declared, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." Despite some technical and weather difficulties, ghostly black and white images of the first lunar EVA were received and broadcast to at least 600 million people on Earth. The hatch was closed again at 5:11 and 13 seconds. They then pressurized the LM and settled down to sleep. After about 7 hours of rest, the crew was awakened by Houston to prepare for the return flight. 2.5 hours later, at 17:54 UTC, they lifted off in Eagle's ascent stage to rejoin Collins aboard Columbia in lunar orbit. Eagle rendezvoused with Columbia at 21:24 UTC on July 21, and the two docked at 21:35. Eagle's ascent stage was jettisoned into lunar orbit at 23:41. Just before the Apollo 12 flight, it was noted that Eagle was still likely to be orbiting the Moon. Later NASA reports mentioned that Eagle's orbit had decayed, resulting in it impacting in an uncertain location on the lunar surface. In 2021, however, some calculations show that the lander may still be in orbit. Apollo 11 splashed down in the Pacific Ocean on July 24 at 5:50 a.m. local time, after traveling over 950,000 miles in a little more than 8 days. The splashdown point was 920 miles southwest of Honolulu and 13 miles from USS Hornet. On August 13, the three astronauts rode in ticker tape parades in their honor in New York and Chicago, with an estimated 6 million attendees. This celebration began a 38-day world tour that brought the astronauts to 22 foreign countries and included visits with the leaders of many countries.